Hello everybody and welcome to WebFactory 2010. In this video tutorial we're going to talk about the Operation Diary control. The WebFactory Operation Diary is the tool that helps the user to monitor the activities of the entire WebFactory solution. And as you can see on the screen right now, I have the control opened at runtime, and every action of the WebFactory suite is monitored by this Operation Diary control. Now, with the ability to go offline, the WebFactory Operation Diary allows the user to view the logged operations. So, while online, the Operation Diary is a real-time activity monitoring software, and while offline, the Operation Diary can be used as a log viewer. Using the design time configuration options, the user can customize this control to fit the project's needs. Now, the first thing we're gonna do to set up our own Operation Diary control is log into WebFactory 2010 Studio. And I'm gonna close this runtime Operation Diary and I'm gonna open the Studio. Now, inside the WebFactory Studio, under the Settings tab, in the Server Settings, we have the Operation Diary options. And as you can see, we have a bunch of checkboxes here and also some numbers, and we're going to talk about each and every one of these. The first option, deleting, activates a ring buffer that deletes the operation logbook content after the maximum days have expired. The second option, the maximum days option, allows us to specify after what numbers of days this ring buffer will delete the logbook contents. So after, in my case, 28 days have passed, the contents of the logbook will be deleted if the deleting option is active, like I have it right now. The maximum number option allows us to set the maximum number of data sets to be saved. In my case, I have 10,000 maximum data sets saved in my database. The log alarm options activates the alarm messages. Now, alarm messages can be accessed in the alarm history. The log user write operation logs the write operations for signal variables. Now, the following parameters are detected: the users, the signal variables, the date, the old values, and the new values. Now all these are logged. The log user logon operation logs a user login at the web-based operating station. So if a user logs in a visualization, that log will be kept inside our Operation Diary. The log system events logs the WebFactory system events, and the log system alarms logs the WebFactory system alarms in the event of the system error. The log user modification logs the WebFactory user's modifications. Now, make sure you have everything set up, meaning all the checkboxes marked and the maximum days set up to a convenient value, because remember, the Operation Diary will delete all the recordings after these maximum days if our deleting option is checked, and we want that because we don't want to hog on our memory. And make sure that the maximum number is set to a convenient value, and remember that this is the maximum number of data sets to be saved. So if you want a bigger number of data sets to be saved, make sure you write here a bigger value. So with this setup, I'm gonna start Smart Editor and we're gonna talk about the Operation Diary control. Now, you can see I already have the Operation Diary control in my project, but we're gonna create a new project and start from scratch. So, here we are in our brand new project, and the first thing we're gonna do is make our page bigger. As usual, I want my page to be in a 16:9 form factor, so my Operation Diary control will fit perfectly on the page. So in the toolbox under the Operation Diary folder, you can find the Operation Diary control and you can drag it into our page. Now let's size this control to fit our page, and I'm gonna use a language selector so I can be able to change the language at runtime. And I'm gonna put it down here. We're not interested in this language selector, only in our brand new control. Now, our Operation Diary control can be used in both Smart Editor and Expression Blend, and the same set of properties are exposed in both tools. So, in Smart Editor, the main focus will be on the Configuration tab of the Property Inspector, because here lie the properties of the Operation Diary control. Of course, we have the normal properties for any WEBfactory Smart Editor control. We have the appearance with the opacity and tooltip, we have the layout section with the layout properties, and the miscellaneous section with the name properties, but we're gonna talk in detail about the configuration section. Our first property for Operation Diary in Smart Editor is Alarm Types Information. And the Alarm Types Information allows the customization of the display of alarms. So one alarm can have different properties in different stages. So I'm gonna click the button and we're gonna open the Edit Items window. Now, I'm gonna add a new alarm type display and we're gonna see what properties can we configure here. Our alarm type display allows us to configure the alarm acknowledged symbolic name. Now the alarm acknowledged symbolic name is the symbolic name when the alarm is acknowledged. We can configure the alarm activated symbolic name, which is the symbolic name displayed when the alarm is active. We can configure the deactivated symbolic name of the alarm, and this symbolic name will be displayed when the alarm is deactivated. We can configure the alarm off symbolic name, which will be displayed when our alarm is off, and also the alarm on symbolic name, which will be displayed when the alarm is on. We can also set the color for our alarm, and we can choose from this color palette any color that we want, or we could go advanced and create our own color. And last, we can choose the symbolic name of the alarm, which is the name of the alarm. So for every symbolic name options here, we can click the browse button and we can choose from our symbolic names. These symbolic names need to be defined in WEBfactory Studio to be found here in our symbolic text browser. So this is our alarm types information. Now our next option is the client-side configuration, and this allows the user to save the configuration on a local machine instead on the server. The columns options allow us to select the columns to be displayed by the Operation Diary control and set their widths. So I'm gonna click this columns button and I'm gonna add a new column, and as you can see here, I can set for my symbol column, I can set the auto size, the visibility, the type of the column, and we have here all the types that our Operation Diary control allows us to set for the columns, and of course the width of the column. Now, after our columns are configured, we can move on and talk about the configuration namespace. Now, this allows us to specify a namespace for the configuration, adding more filtering options when selecting the initial configuration of the control. So if we save a configuration under our namespace, this configuration can be loaded only from the namespace we defined here. The Group by Date option allows us to group the listed items in the control by date. The initial configuration allows us to set the default configuration for the control, so if we have a saved configuration inside a namespace, we can specify here the namespace and the initial configuration, and when run, the control will open with this initial configuration already applied. The maximum events number allows us to set the number of events listed by our control. And the refresh interval is the time interval at which the control will refresh when set to auto refresh. So if the control is set to offline, this number will be irrelevant, but when online, this is the amount of time between two refreshes of our control. Now let's run our control and see how it behaves at runtime with these settings. Now our control is loaded into the web browser, and we can see how the logs are appearing in real time. Just as the activities happen, we have them logged over here. The control allows us to do a lot of operations at runtime, And we have here auto refresh, filter, time interval, print, export, import, load, and save. Now I'm gonna save the configuration, so we have a saved configuration. And now I'm gonna go back to Smart Editor and start this control with our initial configuration. While we haven't defined any configuration namespace, I can put the config name, because this is the name of our configuration over here, and our control will start with this configuration. Now our control started with our saved configuration, and this is how initial configuration helps us. Now this is everything we need to know about configuring the Operation Diary control in Smart Editor at design time. We're gonna talk about the Operation Diary control at runtime a little bit later in a future video tutorial, but until then, remember, work smarter and not harder. See you soon.